Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to this webinar on Data Analytics Framework brought to you by FP&A Professionals Institute. Why data analytics is important? In your FP&A roles, one thing that is common is that you will deal with large chunks of data, right? And these could be financial data, these could be operational data, and these data, sets of data will tell you different stories, which you will need to interpret, analyze, and then present it to your management. So what are some of the best practices and frameworks that will help us analyze these data? Number one. Number two, and how is data analysis different from data analytics, right? That's what we'll be understanding in this webinar. A little bit about us before we begin with, I have my partner with me, Asif. Asif is the co-founder at FP&A Professionals Institute. Asif, a quick introduction from your end.
Thanks, Dhawal. Quickly about me, I have been working in finance and FP&A for over a decade, and mostly in FP&A roles across companies like Citi, Pfizer, Coursera. My last role was FP&A lead for India at Coursera, and I've been a co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute, and regularly contributed to FP&A thought leadership with a couple of books that you see on the top right. And also I've been doing a lot of videos, articles across various FP&A platforms. So that is a little bit about me. Along the last few years, I've got incredible opportunity to meet and finance leaders and experts across the world, right from North America to Europe to Middle East. And what I always try to do, and we at FP&A Professionals do, is bring all of those expert insights in our books, podcasts, courses, and webinars like these. So welcome to the webinar, and looking forward to this next 60 to 90 minutes.
Thank you, Asif. A little bit about me. So my name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. Also completed my one-year executive management program from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a CFO and a finance leader in India and in the Middle East, across various industries, oil and gas, software, advertising and public relations, and also a shared services of a commodity trading company. I'm now the co-founder at FP&A Professionals Institute. Over the last 5 years, I have been an active mentor and a trainer, and have trained thousands of finance professionals on various topics like FP&A, CFO coaching, finance leadership, data storytelling, business partnering, and much more. So I'm happy to partner here with my co-founder, Asif. I've also had the opportunity to host more than 10 CFO events in India and in the Middle East. Somewhere I have gone in as an individual speaker, somewhere as a panelist, somewhere I have been hosting the event. So I had this incredible opportunity to meet and connect with more than 200 CFOs across India and the Middle East. A little bit about FPI's journey. So it all started with the first course in 2018, which is the FP&A Foundations course. 2022 is when Asif and I met. At that time, his book, All About FP&A, was already a bestseller in its category. And then we joined hands to start our FP&A Masterclass, which is our 4 weeks live coaching program, which has done more than 18 cohorts and 500 plus students right now. We also launched different courses, which the students gave us feedback that financial modeling for FP&A, AI for finance and FP&A, all of these have been our recent programs, which we have started in 2024. And last year, we also launched our signature program called Certified Global FP&A Professional Program, which is the CGFPA program, which is 6 months comprehensive program in FP&A. Asif has also written a second book, last year, that is From Accounting to FP&A, again, a bestseller in this category. Should definitely have a copy of it. And then over the last, to sum it up, over the last 12 to 18 months, we have trained more than 3,500 students across these various courses on our platform as well. So just to set some context for today's training, right? So there are two major trends that we are observing, right? So 40% of the finance roles are set to be significantly reshaped by end of 2025, which means we are not very far, which means that most of the AI and automation developments are going to come after accounting and rule-based roles. And what will remain is decision-making, FP&A, strategic support. All of these roles will end up getting more prominence in the coming months. 3 out of 5 organizations are already using data analytics in their roles. And more, we see that FP&A teams have started using data analytics and data analytics tools in their work profiles as well. So that being the context, what brings us here is to understand the difference between the good old management accounting and the modern FP&A teams. Why FP&A or financial planning and analysis is gaining so much of importance. There could be a number of reasons, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to cover 4 core differences. One is that in the management accounting field, the large part of the focus was just on control, reporting, budgeting, and making sure that the accounting is appropriate from a management accounting perspective. But modern FP&A is much more future looking, right? It's all about forecasting, decision support, influencing the business. All of these things are part of your modern FP&A teams. In terms of processes, management accounting has rigid processes, approval-based, rule-based, static budgets. Whereas in the modern FP&A, we are talking about agile environment, real-time forecasts, rolling forecast, automated forecasts. So all of these things are much better equipped to support real-time decision-making in a fast-changing, fast-paced environment, business environment that is out there right now. In terms of tools, management accounting still relies to a great extent on Excel and traditional ERPs, whereas modern FP&A is looking at AI and cloud-based platforms so that you are able to do some advanced forecasting and advanced predictive and scenario planning as well. In terms of skill sets, management accounting still largely was accounting-based, right? To some extent, it's a variation in accounting. But whereas modern FP&A is all about data analytics, business partnering, building strong relationships, scenario planning, and all of these things come as part of the modern FP&A. So one big part of modern FP&A is going to be data analytics, right? So that is where we need to now understand what is the difference between data and data analytics. So we'll begin by understanding what is the difference between data analysis and data analytics, why data analytics is important today, and why is it getting so much of prominence, and how you can start implementing it in your work. 4 different steps or 4 different stages of data analytics and how you can use them in your work. And then we'll finally end up with some Q&A about your finance career or data analytics in general. So that's the roadmap that we are going to cover today. Asif, so just give me a second. Let me allow Asif to share the screen.
Okay, so let me know once the screen is visible. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll start with understanding data analysis and how is it different from data analytics. A lot of times people use these terms interchangeably, and it's important to understand the difference because in some cases you might be referring to different terms at different places. So what is data analysis? Data analysis is something that we have been doing for most of our careers as finance professionals, taking the raw data, looking at it, how is it, if required, we need to clean the data, then trying to interpret what the data is trying to convey, and then derive certain meaningful insights out of the data. That is the entire process that we follow in finance and industry FP&A roles. Now, how is data analytics different? So data analytics is slightly broader field. So it is including, so data analytics would include data analysis. However, it also includes prediction based outcomes. So while you're doing analytics, you would also be predicting certain outcomes, which would help the which will help the decision making to the senior management. So you're doing analysis, but when you're saying you're also doing analytics, meaning you are doing some prediction or you're doing some predictive outcomes, which will help in decision making support. Okay. Primary focus of data analysis is on summarizing historical data, while the data analytics side is more predictive and prescriptive. And we'll talk more about what predictive and prescriptive is in the next few slides. Focus is on forecasting and optimizing for future outcomes. So that is the objective of data analytics. Okay. Some of the tools that you might come across while you're doing analysis is Excel, SQL, BI tools like Power BI. But when you're doing data analytics, you might use certain advanced programming languages, platforms like Python, R, machine learning, AI. So it is slightly more advanced tools in terms of when you are doing analytics. Complexity, in terms of complexity, you must have already noticed slightly simpler, very straightforward. You are looking at historical data and exploring and summarizing the key outcomes, while in terms of analytics, you are providing actionable recommendations or predictions based on the data that you analyze already in the analysis phase. Okay, so that is the basic difference between what is analysis and analytics in terms of the data. Okay, before we get into the main part of the session today, which is different steps of data analysis and data analytics. We'll try to understand why are we doing this and why is this important. So while you are working on any business in finance department, you would come across different types of problems, and it is important to understand different types of analytics because different problems would require different treatment. And if you are able to identify, if you're able to understand the different phases of data analysis and data analytics that we are going to cover, you would be able to correctly identify the problem and correctly identify what the right data analytics step or data analysis process you can use to be able to solve for that problem. So how each type of analytics is different and addressing different business needs is important to understand. Also, it helps you to have a data-driven culture in your organization. So most organizations in today's times would be using data as an asset to be able to make decisions. If they are not doing that, then probably they would get left behind in terms of the competition. And this understanding of data analysis and data analytics will help you to build that data driven culture. It'll improve decision making and communication with stakeholders. Okay. So what you're doing while you're understanding data analytics framework, which we are going to cover, you're going merely from reporting data or merely from reporting number to becoming somebody in the FP&A and the finance team who's able to influence the decisions and who is able to drive successful business outcomes. That is why understanding data analysis and the different stages of data analytics is important. Okay, we'll understand this with the help of e-commerce company. So everybody must know what e-commerce business is. Think about like a company like Amazon. So what they do is basically they are a platform which allows companies to host products on their platform, and you and me as individuals can just go on the platform and buy the products, and Amazon would earn a commission out of it. That is the basic model of e-commerce business. And let us try to understand how a e-commerce company would be using different stages of data analysis, which is where we are going to cover in the next few steps. Okay, so first is descriptive analytics, which is what has happened or which is looking at the historical information and being able to analyze the historical data and tell business what has happened in the past. So that is the first part, which is descriptive analytics. Now, in terms of e-commerce company, when you're looking at their sales information, for example, you're looking at their historical data. So this is the last 1 year data that you're seeing on the screen as an example. And when you're analyzing this data, you could say that you're doing descriptive analytics, or you're looking at the historical and the past data. Okay. Now, looking at the data on the screen, what are some observations that you can make? Can you type in the chat box? So there's a sales or a revenue chart on the screen, and it's a full year revenue chart from January to December, and you can see that the numbers are going up from 150,000 to $350,000, and it's fluctuating across the different months. So what are one or two key takeaways that you can look at the chart and point out, okay, this is one of the key takeaways I can look at the chart and I can say. So I want you to type in the chat box one or two key takeaways that you see looking at this historical data, which is 1 year sales data on the screen. Okay, I'm looking at the chat box. Spike in the last quarter. So Josefa is saying there's a spike in the last quarter, which is fair. So okay, trend analysis. Okay, so there's a trend where it is going up, going down, going up, going down, and then again going up. Steady growth of sales. Okay, what else? Okay, but can you tell the reason why the the common observation which everybody can see is right. The sales are seasonal. It's not linear. So in some months it's high, in some months it's low, and then again it goes up and again it goes. But does it tell you why it is happening? Why is the revenue being fluctuating in different months? This chart wouldn't tell you that. Okay. So say for example, I wanted to understand why the April month numbers are the lowest. Okay, so that is the problem I'm trying to solve, or I'm trying to analyze. Okay, this is what my the CFO has asked me to figure out. Okay, what happened in April? I was not expecting April to be the lowest month. It's usually a decent revenue number in if you look at the historical. What happened in April? So you have to figure out looking at the historical data. Right now, maybe you're sitting in October, and you have to figure out what happened in the month of April. Okay, so what you would do, you would dig one level deeper. You will drill down the data. You will figure out where this April dip is coming from. Okay, and that is the stage. What you will do next is you would ask the question, why did it happen? And now you are going from descriptive to diagnostic. In the first stage, you described, okay, April is the lowest month in terms of the sales, which is what you're describing. And then if you go one level deeper and try to understand why did that happen, you're doing the diagnostic analytics. Okay, so let's understand what happened one level below when you drill down. Okay, so when you drill down the sales number, you notice the sales dip in April and you want to understand why. And then your data analytic, your data scientist team or the people who are managing the data in the company, they give you these charts. Okay, they try to give you the reason why it is happening. So they give you these charts, and now you have to analyze the reason based on these data. Okay, so they've given you more data. So now earlier you had the sales data. Now they have given you three more data points. So first one is the, let me talk about each of the data points that they have given you. Okay, the first one is the conversion rate. What conversion rate basically is, it is the percentage of people who come on the website converting to paid customers. Okay, so say 100 people come on the website and 2% people buy the product. That is the conversion rate. Okay. Another data point they have given you is the average order value. Okay. So for example, if I'm buying 20 rupees or $20 of products in one order, my order average value will be $20. So that is the second data point that you've been given. And the last one is the website visitors, or how many people visit the website. So they've given you three different data points. Now you have to look at these three data points and you have to tell me what is the root cause, or why is the April sales dipped. Looking at these three data points, let's see if you are able to identify that in the chat box. Okay, so you have to look at all the three drivers: conversion rates, average order value, and the website visitors, and figure out why is that sales dipping in the month of April. Okay, so Bikram is saying because of low traffic or low website visitors. Okay, less visited customers. Okay, so now let's look at it one by one. So conversion rates haven't fallen in April, right? So conversion rates, in fact, in April was better than in March. Okay, so that could not be the reason why April sales have dipped, because it is improving compared to January, February, March, and in April it is slightly better than previous month. So that could not be the reason. Okay. Again, if I look at the average order value, it has been fairly consistent at 130 rupees or $120 across January, February, March, and April. So that also cannot be the reason why the sales have reduced. The only reason I can see in the chart is the website visitors have dipped from whatever the number was there in February drastically to the lowest point in the month of April. Okay, so looking at these three data points, you can directly attribute, okay, because of the website visits being less, this is causing the lower sales. Okay, so it's not the conversion rate, it's not the average order value, it's the website visitors. Now, what would be the next logical question you would ask? Okay, once you've looked at this data and you've come to the conclusion, it is the website visitors have dropped in the month or were lower in the month of April. Okay, what would be the next step? Okay, wouldn't you ask why the website visit? You would ask, right? Why was the website visitors low in the month of April? Okay, okay. Then you might go one level deeper and you might see, okay, there might be three different drivers driving website traffic, and you might reach to the root cause after doing this type of drill down analysis in maybe two or three steps. Okay, so that is what you do in diagnostic analytics. Okay, in diagnostic analytics, what we identify is that our key takeaway is that April sales have dropped due to lower marketing efforts and a drop in website traffic. So there was lower marketing efforts or lower marketing spend in that month that resulted in lower website visits, and that caused the revenue to drop. Okay, so that is what we have concluded in looking at the sales number and the website visitors and the all the other drivers. Okay, so that was diagnostic analytics. Now we move from diagnostic to the next one, which is predictive analytics. Here we try to figure out what will happen next, or what will be the next quarter, what will be next month, what will be the next few months, next few weeks, how will that look like? So which is moving from diagnostic to predictive analytics. Okay. So let's say, for example, you have now looked at the historical data and you are, say, at the end of quarter three. Now your CFO is asking you to give me a forecast for the next upcoming quarter. Okay, so you have 9 months of data. You also have historical data of previous years. Based on that, you have to create a forecast for the next 3 months or the next upcoming quarter. So what you would do, you would look at the historical data. You would look at 2020 This is 2024. So you look at 2022, 2021, 2020, look at last 5 years of data. And based on that, you would come up with a prediction, or you would come up with a forecast, what we call it in FP&A, for the next quarter. And this will be based on historical data as well, and will be based on the drivers that we looked at in the previous slide, the average order value, the visitors, based on what they are expecting in the next few quarters. Okay, how much money will the marketing team spend? Based on that, how much visitors are expected? What is the average order value generally in the month of November, December, October? Okay, based on that, you would come up with this forecast for the next quarter. Okay, so what you do after this is you figure out, you do the forecast and you figure out if sales will increase by 20% in November and December due to the holiday shopping, and you are assuming that the marketing efforts will stay consistent. You will not be doing extra marketing, but you will continue it at the same level. Based on that assumption, you expect that the sales in November and December will increase by 20%. Okay, so that is something as you're doing as a prediction, or you're trying to do a predictive analytics, what will happen in the next quarter. Okay, so that was predictive analytics. Now when you move from predictive to prescriptive, again we'll take an example. So now after you submitted this forecast to the CFO, he was not very happy with this, and he asked you to, okay, what can we do right now? You're giving me 20% growth. What can we do? So let's go to the next example. Okay, your CEO wants to know what actions we can take to maximize sales during the holiday season. You're not very happy with the 20% increase. You want to see what can we do to maximize sales during that November, December period. Okay, so you will look at all the analysis that you've done in the descriptive, diagnostic, and the predictive stages, the first three stages, and then based on that, along with your understanding of the business, along with the conversations that you have with the business teams, the sales team, marketing team, you will come up with a strategy, and you will agree upon a strategy what you should do next to be able to grow more than 20% for the next 2 months or the next quarter. Okay, so based on your conversation, based on all the insights that you've gathered in the previous three stages, you decide we will increase marketing spend by 15%. We'll offer special promotions. All this is agreed by the sales marketing team, and we need to improve the website performance to handle the increased number of visitors. Okay, so these are the three things you decide, and these are not just numbers. This is including your analysis in the first three stages and your discussion and agreement with the business and the sales and marketing teams. Okay. Okay. Now the action is that company will follow these recommendations and offer these festive discounts, invest in ads, make the website more optimum, and this would result in a growth more than 20%, which was already expected. So say, for example, after doing this, your revenue increased not by 20%, but by 35%. Okay. So that is the value that you bring through all this analysis and this action that the company is taking based on that analysis. Okay, so that is a quick walkthrough of what are the different stages of analytics, right, from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive, by looking at that example of the e-commerce company. Okay, I'll just also quickly summarize what are the different applications or at different stages that we discussed. So what are the different applications that you might see at different stages? So when you're doing descriptive analytics, basically you are aggregating data or you are using statistical measures. Okay, so basically you're creating summary reports, you're preparing management reports, you're doing dashboards. So if you're doing those things, you could say that you are doing descriptive analytics. Okay. And most likely you would see a month-end report, a quarter-end report, sales report. These are examples of your descriptive analytics, typically what FP&A people do in management reporting. Okay. When you do diagnostic analysis, you might be either doing drill down like we did in the previous example. You might be doing a correlation analysis. You might be trying to figure out how is one driver related to another. You might be doing a root cause analysis, the 5 why analysis that we did in the previous example. You might be doing hypothesis testing. So you might be using any of these methods. Okay. In FP&A, what we call these usually is variance analysis, actual versus budget, how is marketing spend related to revenue growth. These are all some applications of diagnostic analytics and finance and FP&A. When you're doing predictive analytics, you might be using one of these methods like time series forecasting, machine learning, regression analysis. And what you're doing is forecasting revenues or forecasting cash flows, and you're predicting the future few months or few weeks for the business to be able to take decisions and be able to do better than what is already there in the whatever is already there as a baseline. And finally, when you do prescriptive analytics. You might be using even more advanced tools, and you might be doing scenario planning. You might be creating a model that helps you change your strategy based on the situation or based on the environment. We do dynamic pricing based on different factors that are affecting the macroeconomic situation. So all of that is prescriptive analytics, or you're using advanced machine learning techniques to be able to do advanced prescriptive analytics. So this is a summary of what are the different methods used in finance and FP&A at different stages of the data analytics continuum. Okay. Again, I'll just quickly recap. On the left side, you have the value. Right side, you have the difficulty complexity. As you go from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive, your value that you provide to the business increases, and also the difficulty also increases. So that was little bit on the different stages of data analytics, going from descriptive to diagnostic, and from diagnostic to predictive, and then predictive to prescriptive. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen and I'll go back to Dhawal and see if there are any questions in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. So while the audience are thinking about the questions, let's get to the next part of the section. So a simple data analytics framework. So I hope you are able to now appreciate the different stages and the different levels of data analytics framework. So we at FPI have been consulting a lot of CFOs and finance leaders about what are their expectations. And sorry, I think I picked up the wrong slide. Just give me a second. Yeah. So we at FPI have been talking to a lot of CFOs and finance leaders and about what skill sets, what are they looking for in their finance staff. And we have been able to distill 5 skill sets basis the conversations that CFOs are looking for. One is the core FP&A concepts. That is your budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, variance analysis. All of that is your core FP&A concepts. Then comes financial modeling. Financial modeling specific to FP&A, like scenario planning, revenue modeling, business model canvas, all of those things which are specific to FP&A. Then data storytelling. It is not only important how you are analyzing the data, it is equally important how you are communicating this data to the business teams. They don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheets. So what visualizations are you using? What best practices are you using in terms of presentations? All of that comes under data storytelling. Then comes your business partnering, your ability to build strong cross-function relationships, your business acumen, how you are able to coach and influence the business teams. That is what CFOs are expecting today, who can lead the influence to the business teams from the front. Then, of course, like leveraging AI and technological developments that are happening out there in your finance function. So these are the 5 skill sets that CFOs are looking for in the modern finance professionals. So now what we have done is, after talking to dozens of CFOs and FP&A leaders, again, this is another statistic that reconfirms that we had conducted our own internal survey where 79% of the CFOs said that it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent. There is huge demand for FP&A at this point in time, but there are not enough professionals out there, or certified or experienced FP&A professionals out there. So that's why what we have done is, to bridge this gap, we have come up with our own certification program. It's called Certified Global FP&A Professional Program. The CGFPA program is a global FP&A certification built and taught to you directly by CFOs and FP&A practitioners, 10 comprehensive modules, which we'll talk about it in a while, all through experiential sessions and simulations, all practical real life case studies, real life looking data, all of those things are used in our classrooms. You'll always be part of a global alumni network. CGFPA program has been already taken by students with more than 25 countries. You'll also get sessions with a personalized career coach to address any queries that you might have. You'll also get placement support, again, not a guarantee, but a placement support in terms of optimizing your resume, LinkedIn profile, interview support, preparations. All of those things are coming as part of the placement support. Access to Q&A sessions. Every month we'll have Q&A sessions directly with the faculty where you can ask any questions that you might have. External speaker sessions where we are bringing in CFOs, experts, and finance leaders so that they can, there's some background noise. Yeah. So CFOs, tool providers, FP&A leaders, so that you can directly learn what's happening, latest in the finance world out there. And all of this through easy online, best-in-class LMS. And you're able, we communicate through seamless messaging and emailing as well. So that's what the CGFPA program is all about. Talking about the 10 core modules that CGFPA has, right? So I'll let Asif introduce the first 5 modules on your left, and then I'll take the next 5 modules on the right.
Yeah, we'll come to the questions in the chat box in a minute. Before that, let me just cover quickly what is covered in the budgeting, forecasting, AI, and the management reporting modeling modules in CTF. So budgeting, forecasting, we cover all the different budgeting techniques, right from bottom up to top down budgeting, incremental to zero based budgeting, different parts of building a budget, right from revenue, COGS to salary and a headcount budget to R&D budget to admin budget. So we cover the entire step-by-step process of building a budget using real life like data and real life like case study, which is a capstone project. So that is what we basically do on a high level in the budgeting forecasting module. Management reporting is very targeted towards what are the common management reports used, how do they look like through different case studies like month-end reports, your risk and opportunity analysis, your flash reports, different types of data performance management reports like management frameworks like KPIs, OKR, and balance scorecards, along with variance analysis and profitability analysis. So that is what is covered in the reporting module. And financial modeling is very specific to FP&A, which covers concepts like how do you build a revenue model, how do you build a three-statement financial model using P&L, balance sheet, and cash flows. How do you do scenario planning? How do you do sensitivity analysis? How do you build cash flow forecasts? So very specific use cases which are used in day-to-day life in finance and FP&A roles. So that is a little bit about the modules that you see on the left side.
So I'll talk about the modules on the right. So data analytics is something which we have already talked about today. So you will invariably be dealing with a lot of data, large chunks of data, and you need to know your way to navigate those chunks of data. So that's where the tools like Power BI, Power Query, SQL come into play. And we at least teach you to that very foundational level so that you are comfortable using these tools in your day-to-day FP&A roles as well. Then comes financial analysis. Financial analysis is not just about ratio analysis. There's different types of analysis like profitability analysis, variance analysis, horizontal, vertical, all of those things come under the financial analysis, where you're looking at the company more from an internal standpoint and understanding the performance of the company. Storytelling and presentations, which I briefly spoke about, what are some of the storytelling best practices, presentation best practices, how you can tell your narrative in a compelling way. All of those things are part of your storytelling and presentations. Strategy, again, every strategic decision taken in the company has some or the other finance overlap, right? If at all you have to take a strategic decision, like let's say I want to start operations in a new country, you cannot take that without sound financial evaluation. So in the strategy module, we cover all those popular strategy frameworks which have an intersection with FP&A with practical case studies and how these frameworks can be used. And then comes your business partnering. Business partnering is all about building relationship with the cross-functional teams. How can you build strong functional relationships? How can you support the business to truly add value, right? So we cover it through a lot of practical case studies and simulations in the business partnering space as well. So all in all, 10 solid modules, everything that you need for FP&A role is covered in the CGFPA program. Don't think about this just as a course or a certification. It's a fast track, 2 decades of experience compressed into a 6-month program. So that's what CGFPA program will be like. Yeah. The eligibility criteria for the CGFPA program is that you need to have a bachelor's degree or equivalent in finance, accounting, or business, or alternatively, you may have your qualifications like CA, CPA, CMA, ACC, or any of these equivalent qualifications in your respective country. Okay. We don't claim to be a substitute for your primary qualification, but in fact, we are a supplement for your primary qualification. And we are also accredited by CPD so that you can claim your continuing credits in your qualifications as well. Now, how will you get the CGFPA award? There are 2 conditions. One is that you need to attend the live online classes, at least 50% of them. Every Saturday, we meet just for 2 hours, live online, and you are required to attend at least 50% of the classes live. Then submit a capstone project where we'll guide you step by step as to how do you do that, which is actually a budget presentation to a CFO. You submit that capstone project, and this will make you eligible for the final examination. The final examination is a 2 hours, 100 marks, multiple choice questions examination, 50 questions. And after you complete this 2 hours examination, you will be awarded the CGFPA certificate from FP&A Professionals Institute. Now, the ROI of a valuable course like this, which can easily fast track your career by a couple of years, I leave it to your imagination. But the course fee investment in this program is $1,595. There's also a payment plan available. 6 months, we meet live every Saturday for 2 hours. Apart from that, at least 60 to 90 minutes of your own time investment is required, because we'll share with you some pre-reading materials, case studies, some frameworks to go through, and then come to the classroom so that we can maximize the time available in the classroom for real discussions and case study discussions and simulations. Yeah. The next cohort starts on 7th of June 2025. The orientation session is on 7th of June 2025. But the date that you need to remember is 15th of May 2025. That's today. So this is when the early bird applications are closing. You still have time, but the early bird applications are closing today. So what we would definitely recommend is that whether you decide to CGFPA or no. So whether you decide to do the CGFPA program or no, what we would definitely recommend you to do is at least fill in the applications so that our team can review your eligibility and then come back to you with the offer or the early bird offer, whatever is existing at that point in time. Yeah. So don't just take our word for it. There are tons and tons of testimonials. You can reach out to any of our alumni. Many of them can share stories with you. A lot of them have been able to transition into FP&A roles, even with salary hikes. A lot of them have been able to implement a lot of frameworks that we have shared in the classrooms in their work, and got appreciation from their CFOs and FP&A leaders. So you can talk to any of our alumni and they'll tell you how the CGFPA program is all about. We have done our part with our CFO and FP&A leaders. So our students' success is our primary success today. So that would be my closing thoughts. All the best to all of you for your finance careers.
Amazing. Thanks, Dhawal. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks.
See you soon. Thanks.